Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening to you, good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special coverage on the occasion of bidding farewell to our beloved late Crown Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz, the beloved Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who passed away recently, and we have paid farewell yesterday. The whole government, the whole Saudi people and dignitaries from around the world came to Riyadh to send their condolences and greet the custodian of the two mosques and the royal family and the Saudi people. As we have said earlier in this coverage, that it takes days and days, probably years, to actually to discuss the achievements of our beloved late Crown Prince, and we will still continue discussing some of the achievements and some of the positions he held and how he dealt with those positions. When we speak about late Crown Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz, we speak about different personalities in one person, the personalities of a politician, of a military man, and most above all is a man of a humanity, and one of them was the late Crown Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz. In order to discuss the topic furthermore, along with me in the studio, Mr. طلعت Haafظ, the Media and Banking Awareness Committee Secretary General. Welcome, sir, to the program.
Well, thank you for having me in the program. Thank you very much. If
we were to speak about such a personality, as we said, it takes a long time to actually to overcome the achievements that His Royal Highness Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz has achieved in his life. Among them was the political life and his personal life. But first above all, he was one of the builders of the new Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, supporting his brothers, the former kings of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia since the founder, King Abdulaziz. He was also appointed as the governor of Riyadh at the age of 16. So that showed the late King Abdulaziz how smart this young person is, or this young prince is, and that's why he made him held such responsibility at a young age. Mr. Haafظ, if we speak about how a father could find such differences between his sons, and when we speak about Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz, we'll speak about all his titles, but let's just take a background about Prince Sultan.
Well, let me begin by sharing my sad feeling with the big loss of Crown Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz, Deputy Premier and Minister of Defense and Aviation and General Inspector. Really, it is a very sad week for the kingdom, for the royal family, for the citizen, for everyone, in fact, to lose a big man, a great man like Prince Sultan. But again, this is, as they say, this is life. But it's a very sad news. And let me convey my faithful, deep condolences to the custodian of the two Holy Mosques, King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz, to the royal family, and to the Saudi citizen, and also to the non-Saudi citizen in the kingdom. As you mentioned, late King Abdulaziz, may God have mercy on him and bless his soul, was a wise man, very wise man, in the way that he dealt with all his sons, whether being Prince Sultan or the custodian of the duality of mosque, King Abdullah, or before that King Fahd, and so on and so forth, by really making sure that they receive the proper education from the Sharia and from the Quran, and from distinguished scholar at that time, and also mingle them and make sure that mixed with the world. And if we recall rightly, when he is Prince to UN, and that famous speech in 1405, and he addressed the public on behalf of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and stressed a couple of points, important points. And also we remember when he was sent again the 50th anniversary of the UN. So all of this, it shows you how King Abdulaziz God bless his soul, was really a wise man, and from the early stages, if you will, from the childhood, if you will. And as you rightly mentioned, 16-year-old gentleman, a young gentleman at that time, to govern Riyadh city in 1947. It was something. You talk about Riyadh, you're talking about the capital of Riyadh, you're not talking about a remote, small city. So I think, again, King Abdulaziz, the trust in his sons and building the responsibility. At the same time, accountability and guidance played a major role in that regard. For that, in fact, if you allow me, he shared his father, King Abdulaziz, may God bless his soul, in setting the foundation and the infrastructure of a consolidated administration system for the kingdom at that time, which addressed and was really based on the social and application of the Sharia, which in fact we are benefiting from that consolidated administration or admin system for the kingdom. And so on and so forth until he headed the Supreme Administration Admin Reform Committee, and at a very senior level committed to a lot of ministers and that, and to reform, if you will, the different management, if you will, and what they call reorganization, streamline the process of the government and make it more accessible, easier, and so on and so forth. More than 70 decisions, strategic decisions that took place that were approved by the custodian of the Abdullah. And this is where you see now the advancement and achievement of the kingdom. If you talk about Prince Sultan, I would say he's a man in one man. He's a multiple.
He's a group.
He's a group of people, group of great people. If you want to talk about his leadership, as you mentioned, he's a leader by far. If you talk about the political talent he had, by far, he's a politician of a mankind. If you want to talk about the human side, the noble side of him, the fair side of him, the educational, he's an economist, he's a financial, he's everything. Multi-talented task.
Then, well, the governorate of Riyadh was to start with, and then 6 years later, he was, even though at a young age, if we consider 6 years after 16, that means 22, 23 years of age, he was appointed by his brother, King Saud, late Saud, well, as a Minister of Agriculture in 1953.
Yes.
So he was the first also official in that field, in agricultural field.
Yes.
And those days, Mr. Hafid, we did not have the revenues of oil, did not show that well. So agriculture was the hope of the newly born kingdom.
Yes.
So as the first minister also of agriculture, that puts a lot of responsibility on a young person also. How did he manage? Now we're living in the far, maybe not in Riyadh, but surrounding the kingdom, especially in Asir and Hail and those regions where agriculture and plants can grow. I'm sure now the development is farther than what we expected actually. But to put let's say the foundations, fundamentals of that work inside, also as an economist, how do you look at this position in particular?
I would like to go back to Riyadh a little bit. Please. In 1947, when he was the governor, assigned the governor at that time. And Riyadh at that time was a small city, and as you mentioned, as a government we had very small share of the revenue from the oil at that time, considering the price and considering the demand and supply and so on and so forth. But he was managed really to turn Riyadh to a different city. And I remember when I was preparing, he had two main roads at that time, Al-Thimeri, which called the another one, Al-Thimeri Road, which is now today it's becoming a famous road in that regard. But also he laid down the infrastructure of Riyadh, the water system, the sewage system, the electricity, and in fact he had a major contribution in forming what we call the electricity company today.
Yes.
At that time. So that's Riyadh, being the capital, being with, as you mentioned, limited revenue for the government. But again, this is the capital of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So I can realize now King Abdulaziz, late King Abdulaziz, when he assigned him being the governor of Riyadh. 1953, it was really another turnaround point for late Prince Sultan when he was assigned the Minister of Culture, as you mentioned, but also member of the Ministry Council, because at that time the ministry was part of the what's called Majlis al-Wuzara of the Ministry of Council. So it was, this is again his appointment at the same time, 1953. I think that the major project that he was assigned to is to deal with the nomadic settlement, what's called the settlement البدو of the Bedouins. So he went through a big project at that time, giving farms.
So the government was turning from a nomadic into a
civilization and settled society, if you will. And I think he did an extremely fantastic job. And one could imagine the difficulties really to go to the nomadic and try to convince them, leave the desert and go just in houses and go here and have farms and blah, blah, blah. So I think he did a fantastic job, and this is, as I mentioned, it's turning point for the kingdom of civilization and development and advancement and what have you. So definitely Prince Sultan has contributed a lot into that turning point, which, as I mentioned, has shifted the Saudi economy from economy that deal with livestock here and there to agricultural kind of economy, which again, that's boosted, if you will, at that time, the revenue of the government. Another turning point, which is 1956, when he was assigned at that time to be the Minister of Transportation.
Transportation also is...
Now, he made a big twist around in transportation, where we had limited roads, and we had limited telecommunication, but he was able, again, to lay down the infrastructure.
Those days, Mr.
Yes, sir.
It took you like 1 week to reach to Mecca al-Mukarramah from Riyadh, or more or less.
I was a child at that time, and I went from Riyadh to Mecca. It's more than that.
Really? Yeah, I remember it was months.
Yeah,
when I scared the people.
Indeed.
Even the traveling time of the era of Abdulaziz, where he takes his car and then targets stocks in the sand. It takes more than a week. So in order to be a Minister of Transportation for a vast country such as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, it's almost a continent. It's
It's a continent.
It is a continent. It's almost as big as Europe.
Yes.
Also with the little revenues, as you said. So it was only not the planning, but you have to find assets to help you and to convince the people also to accept those facts of turning into civilization. So that is another turning point. How do you see it nowadays with the highway system we have in Saudi Arabia? If we compare it, I know it's we cannot hardly compare what we had before to now, those 60, probably more than 60 years. But how would you see those responsibilities for also a young person, 25, also?
Yeah, I think late Prince Sultan was distinguished for, is what really I call a man, is how to utilize a minimal resources, very limited resources, and to make a turnaround. Lots of they say when there is no resources or limited resources, you can have excuses until whatever.
That would be an excuse.
I don't have resources, why are you blaming me? Give me the resources, give me the money. But at that time, as you mentioned, in the 50s or the 60s or what have you, when the kingdom had very limited resources, he was ready to make things happen. And this is where you have really a different man. He's not a normal man. He's really a man of full wisdom. Look at the kingdom today, really. If you look to the highway system, if you look to the road system, it's one of mankind. In fact, we can really compare notes with advanced countries in Europe or even in America. The highway system, the road system. And while I was reading, to prepare for that program, it has been said that late Prince Sultan said, one day I would like to see, and this is the ambition. He is an ambitious man. my country, like the US and like the advanced countries in the everything, the road system, the water system, the schooling system, everything. So he has a vision. When you have a visionary man, different than you have a man just work for that day or that hour. He doesn't say ahead. But definitely Prince Sultan, late Prince Sultan, he was a visionary man. Vision. He had a long term, he had a medium term, he had a immediate plan. It's a strategic thinking he has in mind, plus the wisdom, plus the capability, plus the knowledge, plus the hard work. And the hard work is very important. And if you look to the achievement of Prince Sultan, I'm sure, not even hours, not even days, not even years, I'm not exaggerating, they have to go step by step and to analyze each of the accomplishment. And they reflect not only in the kingdom. We must be clear here. The kingdom, the Arab world, the GCC countries, the whole world has benefited. Even what they call the African Horn, Al-Qarni Free, benefited from his help, from his right hands. It's everywhere. So definitely now, if you compare the road system and anything we have got to do with communication, with telecommunication, you can see the big advancement and achievement that we have done over the years. And with what, 50 years, 46 years, this is a very short time span in the lifetime.
In nations, yeah. 1960 to the turnover of his life, when he was appointed as the defense minister,
yes,
and the aviation also minister, and the inspector general.
Yes.
So moving from governorate to ministry,
yes,
agriculture, to transportation, and now to a different field also.
Field,
and the aviation system in those days,
yes,
the aviation system, even in the Arab world,
yes,
we remember it wasn't that great system, or we did not have the infrastructure for airports and such.
Yes.
So, and also in those days, we had a big war between Israel and the Arabs. He had supported the Palestinians in that cause. And in 1967, when the annexation of the West Bank, he had supported Jordan. He had sent troops to Jordan, stayed there for a few years. So he's about vision, as you said. But how would we discuss our wars? We have 3 wars: the first Iranian war, Iraqi war, and the second Gulf War, the liberation of Kuwait, and the 2003 also the American going to or went to Iraq. So wars in the country, in the region, let's say a lead, as they call it, a lead region on the spot, Middle East. Being the Minister of Defense in such a country, in a part of the world, how hard was it on Prince Sultan?
Well, as you mentioned, the 1962 is another big turning point, because if you talk, I'm not downsizing, sorry, the agriculture, or but again, if you agriculture, more important, but defense
is the most.
Is defense is the day. Yes, we're not an enemy country to anyone, but definitely we want to make sure that we have enough system to defend ourselves in case, especially if you talk about the kingdom. Alhamdulillah, we have the wealth, we have the Islamic, we have the Islam and the 2 mosques, we have money, we have brains, so everybody would look to that place. You know, this is why you should really to equip yourself for anyone just try, or even think for a second. So 1962, I believe it was, as I mentioned, the major turning point in the kingdom, and also in late Prince Sultan. At that time, a Ministry of Defense, they had about 60 people working. 60 people at that time, and very limited. The whole thing, and very limited. You know, as you mentioned, limited revenue from here, from there, agriculture or livestock, whatever. So to go such defense system, make it really today one of the state of the art. If you want to talk technology-wise, state of the art. If you want to, we have the best pilot by far in the world. So this is again have the best pilots really, so and proven to be training-wise, the system you have, the technology you have, the infrastructure, the human resources, the plane system you have, you know, the fleet you have from the planes, the most France, whether being F5, F15, you name it, or the tornado, whatever. And the own project has, of course, did great into, we will talk about the Saudi American offset program and what have you. So this was really a turning point in for the country, in the history of the country, where, as you mentioned, we were limited as far as defense capability. Today we are one of the most really equipped to defend our country by humanity, different ways, if you will. Whether being Air Force is the best in the world, whether the planes, the total planes, fighter planes we do have, whether the missile system, whether the Navy, you name it. So this is really a big accomplishment in the history of Saudi Arabia. Led, 46 years almost? 50 years. Prince Sultan was heading that very important, ministry.
Let me quote Prince Khalid I once said, "This is the first country I see the military takes the urban development, and let's talk about military cities."
Yes.
Military cities were initiated in the kingdom, and especially in the urban regions such as Khabis Sheikh,
yes,
Hafr al-Batin,
yes,
Tabuk. Those cities were, as you said, nomadic societies,
yes,
but because of the farsighted of the late Crown Prince, he initiated those cities in Sharura to have that military city. And when, as an economist now speaking,
yes,
when you have a complete military city, you have life span is. Tell me about initiating a whole city from the.
Again, we go to vision. We go back to the visionary ability that late Prince Sultan had. He did not only focus on having, the best planes and the best missile system and the best tanks, no, but he viewed it as a package, as a total defense mechanism, total package, by having the best hospitals, the best army hospitals in the world. And the hospital that we have in Riyadh, RKH,
yes,
is a story, it's a success story to everyone. And its branches in Jeddah, in Tabuk, as you mentioned, in other. So we have the cities, we have cities. I believe we have more than 30 medical cities,
yes,
all applicable to the Army and to the Ministry of Defense and applicable units to the defense. Plus, more importantly than the best airports, the best air bases, really equipped air bases for the best housing system. For talking, because my father is an ex-brigadier general, so I know what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
We used to live in beautiful houses. We used to, go to the best, and still, of course, to the best hospitals, army hospital, and look to Prince Sultan Cardiac system. It's one of the best in the world that can perform about 4,000 operations in a single year, and people coming to that center from all over the place, not only from the kingdom but from international countries like Arab world or the GCC or even Europe and what have you. So the vision of late Sultan has made what we have today, is focusing on the defense and make it strong, but also all attached a facility that makes the army people happy. Because he knows, end of the day, the army are required to do lots of, defend the country. You cannot have more than this. So he want to make sure that the army who is working in the Air Force, or working in the Marine, or working elsewhere, or doing something in the ground troop, whatever, he want to make sure that he's happy. More importantly, the way that late Prince Sultan used to deal with the soldier, with his people. I recall my father sometimes, and this is, I'm not really just telling story, this is true. Sometimes my father used to come to the house happy. And we asked him, when I was a child, why are you happy? And he said, I had a chance to meet Prince Sultan, during, because of work. Meetings. And so the way that he deals with people, either he tells you, my son, or my brother, always smiling, never get irritated. He's a big heart, wide-hearted. He take and he gives back in a very nice. So this is where you feel secure being in the army. This is where you really work day and night without complaining. This is why you throw your life to your country, because you're happy, you're contained, you're fully content, and this is, I think, wisdom from late Prince in dealing with people.
Also, Mr. Hafid, if we speak about fighting illiteracy in the Ministry of Defense itself,
yes,
the Ministry of Defense have played a great role
yes,
in finding schools,
yes,
night schools for the soldiers,
yes,
and I'm sure now your father is one among the brigadier generals that have served in the army. I'm sure you know about the stories that we had Bedouins who started with as a soldier and ended up as general.
yes,
Army
and having PhDs, PhD careers.
Yeah, tell us about that side. How the vision to develop, as you said, not only the equipment, the materialistic system, but the people that are working on those.
Again, late Prince Sultan, it means investing in people, because he much realized that an equipment you can't buy from anywhere.
Yes, you're right.
A nice plane or a fighter, whatever, you can buy from anywhere. But people, Saudi people, you cannot buy from anywhere. You have to, take care of them. You have to educate them. You have to. So, as you mentioned, the number of schools, the number of universities we have, the number of academic, sort of army, like Malik Faisal and what have you, similar to this. This is where you had, as you mentioned, from simple people to really very advanced people, in technology-wise, in mind-wise, in thinking-wise, in education level. If you look to the army, if you screen the army, you got a lot of PhDs, you got a lot of degrees, you got a lot of people who they have this degrees with them, thinking, technology, IT, knowledge. So this is where the assets, the main asset of the kingdom, it is not really the plane, it is not really, again, it's package, it is total package. And this is where the late Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz-Rahmullah was very keen, is to build the people before building anything else. Because once you have the right people, everything works.
So it worked.
And it worked.
Also, the Prince Sultan has played also a different role, which is the, let's say, the foreign policy file he handed.
Yes.
Well, he was always with late King Faisal in his trips outside, and even when his mother, Princess Hassas Dairy, passed away, he was in Morocco in the Arab Summit in 1962, and a week later he was appointed the Minister of Defense. But also he played a great role in the United Nations. You've said it a while ago that he participated, led or headed the delegation of the kingdom to the 50th anniversary and also to the 60th anniversary.
Yes,
so he's not only a man of, let's say, solutions, but he is a man of international solutions. Let's speak about his international capabilities. That an international figure.
We can figure from the funeral what happened. More than 100 presidents and kings and what have you, they came to the kingdom.
Prime ministers and
officials from 27 countries coming to the kingdom to give their condolences. And so this gives you the importance of that man. The announcement that we have heard worldwide, President Obama, President Sarkozy, and so on and so forth, it gives you the importance and the weight of that man. He's not, as I mentioned, a man. He is quite a man. He's a mankind, one of mankind, man. And the wisdom, late Prince Sultan, all the difficult tasks, when it comes to very difficult fields, they were given to Prince Sultan. Simply because of his wisdom, his vision, the way he dealt with people, and the wisdom he usually used in dealing with difficult files. And let me cite an example. Most of the boundaries issues that we had with neighboring hot countries, but late Prince Sultan was the one to receive the file, and he did an excellent work, and no problem. Solved the problem with the boundaries, and you know how sensitive is boundaries with different countries.
The toughest was with Yemen. He played a great role also with the Qatari
file.
And Sheikh Hamad bin Jassim bin Jabr, the Prime Minister of Qatar, spoke the other day, and he said he made the solidarity between, or he actually strengthened that solidarity between the nations, between Qatar and Saudi Arabia in particular. Also, he played a great role in the Yemeni fight. And he is the head of the Saudi side of the Yemeni-Saudi joint delegations that meets every...
What it tells you wisdom, vision, dealing with difficult issues, accomplishment and performance. He's a performance, period. He is a man that he can deliver, which he did. And to date, we are enjoying, of course, the outcome of such initiatives.
Let me quote Prince Salman bin Abdulaziz have said in many occasions that, now we'll take the humanitarian side. He said he's a walking humanitarian institution. And he said, literally, I said what I know about my brother, Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz. Those are the words of Prince Salman bin Abdulaziz. Last night I saw Prince Naif speaking also to the media. He said he was our leader. He was our guider. I mean, he could guide us. We would come to him when we are for solutions. We would run to him. We would run to him as friend. We would run to him as an older brother. The relation of that humanitarian personality. Mr. Hafid, I've looked around the world. I haven't seen in the contemporary history, maybe before Hatem al-Ta'i, Ma'an ibn Zaida, but nowadays, somebody to spend more than 100 million riyals daily basis to give this donations here and there and there. It's not only the money, but to have that personality, the giving away, it's born with you. You're God gifted if you have it. And if you have such brothers speaking about you in this manner, that means, and even though they are generous themselves, so when they speak about Prince Sultan, we're not speaking about them.
It means extra, something extra, something extra.
Yeah, let's talk about this point. The humanitarian side or the philanthropy work that Prince Sultan have always dominated. Even 3 days before he passed away, he said for the Quran Memorization Society to go Hajj this season. They will perform Hajj on his benefit or on his pay. How do you see a man, even he's dying, still he's contributing to his people the same as nothing will happen? Such a personality is a complicated personality. We have spoken about how wise he is in politics. But the humanitarian side, this is a God-gifted side. What could we say about his...
You know, as Prince Sultan has mentioned, rightly so, and he said, late Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz, when Prince Salman said, he's a moving foundation for charity and humanity. He's a moving foundation. And if you look to the generosity of Prince Sultan, not only money, as you mentioned, but more importantly, beyond the money, is visiting people, calling on people. Remember when he came, the one before this time that he came from America, and he was tired and he was sick at that time. He was not feeling well. He insisted on going and visiting the soldiers. Remember the soldiers had that issue with the Houthiyyin. He went to the hospital and talked to them and kissed them, and he was very kind. But this is where the human side talks about itself. If we look to the Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz Al Saud Foundation, established in 1995, this is a landmark for establishing institutionalization, if you will, the charity and organizing and make it institution kind of systematic, if you will, and well organized charity in that sense. We looked at medical city, a well-known medical city, the Community Medical City, which was established in 2002, and it has like more than 400 bed. It accommodates more than 400 bed, and it's one of the best rehabilitation medical system or city in the world that deals with a problem, comes with spine and accident and what have you, and handicapped and what have you. I remember, when I watched the Abdullah al-Juraid, the child, Abdullah al-Juraid, Abdullah al-Juraid, a 4.5-year-old kid, the way that he was talking to late Prince Sultan, and how late Prince Sultan received him and hugged him, talked to him, and received him again and again in the office. Also, Taban, another.
It was spontaneous when you have a 4 years and a half kid, even if you give him the money of the world, you're not gonna lie. When he looked at him, he said, Yuba, أنا أحبك.
أنا أحبك.
I love you. I love you too.
No, when we ask him, why are you late? Because what has happened, the child came with his father, Adil, an hour before the arrival of the prince. So the prince came on time. But he's a child, he cannot distinguish. So he asked him, why you came? I'm waiting for you. So that big smile, with the beautiful smile of late Prince Sultan that everybody knows, and everybody enjoy, and everybody love, and like, he smiled and talked with him and had a chat with him back and forth. So it tells you the human side. There is a story that I was hearing in the media. He was watching TV at that time, one time, and there is a Nigerian woman. She was looking, like breaking an ant, the nets to eat some food to. He did watch that thing. He immediately reacted. He found the way to get to that lady, and then project after project in Africa, whether being in Nigeria, Niger, and what can you tell? What you can tell?
Exactly. That's what we said. God gifted.
Yes.
Also, if we speak, the other day I was listening to this doctor, Iraqi doctor, and she was saying that he was a man of social society, of civil society, even before we start speaking about it in the whole region, about human rights.
Yes.
He said he was our leader in that road, in that path, because he initiated, as you have said, the Prince Sultan Foundation, and many, probably more than 26 charity institutions around the world. But she was speaking about that kind of work, civil society, away from the government, non-profitable institutions. She was speaking a lot about it. As an economist, how do you see when a person goes into a civil society work, in a civil, rather away from the government? Because the government, the complications always comes with it. So how did he manage to find all the time to get to the humanitarian side and also to the civil rights, to every right? So he was kind of a fair person for each side. If we speak about the civil service that he contributed to the world, or to the Arab in particular, what could we say?
You see, as you mentioned, you rightly so mentioned, he is a gifted. I don't believe all of us, if we talk about 7 billion people in the world, I don't think we are gifted. And this is, Prince Sultan is a gifted, talented man. He used the gift that God gave it to him. He used the talent that God gave it to him by, as you mentioned, going, doing his work, what he's supposed to do, being a deputy premier, being the minister of defense and aviation, and the general inspector, and all, but not forgetting the human side, which is, he believed at that time, important, because you just cannot focus on work and leave other things behind. Leave needy people, leave handicapped people, and he worked. But he did not work in, without planning, if you will. No, he plans with visions, with strategic planning, with operating plan, with business plan, just like a private sector, the way that the private sector works. And it worked for him. Important he was following up. He did not just initiate a project and say Assalamu alaikum and he leaves. No, he initiated he follows. He's the chairman of the board of trustee of the Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz Foundation. He did not say, okay, I'll leave it, manage it, whoever, and then I just give me a report.
He just went.
to make sure himself that things are delivered the way that he intended for them to be delivered. So, planning, vision, follow-up, all together. And this is really, it's very rare to find it in a person. Plus, when late Sultan, when he has something, you can feel it's coming from heart to heart. It is not for the show. He doesn't know. He doesn't need the glory. He doesn't need a person who is looking for glory. He has all the glory, he has all the prestige, he has all the means, so he doesn't need the glory. So when he gives something to the needy people, it
becomes natural.
Natural. Like the Nigerian woman. Who would know that somebody was watching TV and he looks at that nest of the Nigerian woman and then he finds out and then he helps?
The other day I heard the story, I want to say it also, it comes into my mind. Prince Abdullah those days was on vacation. King had to leave the country, and Prince Sultan took over as the premier of the government. One of his agents had a deal with one of the citizens where he took his land or lot. So the citizens sent a letter to the king. Who found that letter? Prince Sultan. He wrote to Prince Salman bin Abdulaziz, the governor of Riyadh, that you should call the agent of Prince Sultan to your office and kind of interrogate him and see what the Shara calls.
Yes.
If it's with us or against us.
Okay.
Do it, Sultan bin Abdulaziz. So, what could this situation tell you?
In one word, a man of words.
Even against himself.
Yeah, he's a fair man. Either for him or against him. He's a fair man when, as you mentioned, he wrote to Prince Salman, and tell him live with it, according to the Sharia. Whether it's my right or other people's right. So this shows you the man, otherwise this is Prince Abdulaziz, late Prince, he could just put it aside.
Put it aside or
put it somewhere.
In some countries, maybe the citizen might be jailed.
But he really immediately took an action to Prince Salman and told him, please take care of it, whether for me or against you. So this is, again,
military people hate environment hates military people.
Yes.
But we have the contradiction.
Yes.
Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz was the man of environment in the kingdom.
Yes.
And the man of wildlife preservation also.
Oh, that's another story.
That is another story. We have a few minutes, but as we said, he's against environment usually because you burn. Military people burn the environment. And environment hates military people. But to have such a personality handling military here and the environment issues and also...
And he was very keen on the environment issue.
And the preservation of wildlife.
Imagine now we have in Kingdom about 15 protected, which contribute around 4% of the Kingdom, overall Kingdom geographical size, if you will. He received the prize, a well-known world prize, as being one of the 10th men in the world that care about the environment. I think the name of it is Watch. It's a well-known worldwide prize in protecting environment. So you can tell how, the late Prince Sultan, how he was managing being an army man, being deputy premier, being too many things. But environment man at the same time.
So as Prince Khalid Faisal said in his poetry, it's a group of people and one person.
Yes, and scientific, SciTech in the Eastern Province, supporting women, the Prince Sultan fund for promoting and funding projects, small, medium and small size projects in the Eastern Province. So too many things to talk about.
حافظ, Media and Banking Awareness Committee Secretary General.